What would you say the main difference between Jula, Bambara, and Mandinka? Well, all three of the varieties that you named are Manding varieties. Manding being the catch-all term that refers, it's kind of like saying Scandinavian. When we say Scandinavian, it refers to Norwegian, Danish, and Swedish. From a linguistic perspective, those varieties can be closer to one another than their name varieties. So someone might speak a variety or dialect of Danish, and actually their Danish is closer to Norwegian or to Swedish than to officially what is Danish. So Manding, that's why I use that as a term for all the varieties. And within Manding, there's four traditional varieties distinguished. You have Bambara, Jula, Mandinka, which is called Malinke in French, and then you have what linguists say is Mandinka. So the main difference being that it has a D, like you wrote it here, and Mandinka or Malinke does not have that D, so Mandinka. Those three, Bambara, Jula, and Mandinka, or Malinke without a D, those are all Eastern varieties, which means that they have 7 vowels. Bambara and Jula, I often say, are as close as, for instance, American and British English. They're essentially 100% mutually intelligible, though there are differences, both in grammar and slightly in, well, vocab and then slightly in grammar, but the mutual intelligibility is there. Once you get to Mandinka, it's a little bit further away, and that's when I tell people it's a little bit like somebody encountering American versus Irish English. You clearly recognize them, but if you're not initiated and you just know American English, Irish English can be quite tough to follow. And then though you have Mandinka. So Mandinka is spoken towards the Senegambia region, is actually a 5-vowel system. So it's considered Western Manding instead of Eastern Manding like the other three. And that really is a lot different. It starts to get something that I can recognize it, but I can't understand it. So it's a little bit like German and Dutch, for instance. The main difference though is that there's a sense of shared ethnic and cultural identity. Whereas for instance, German and Dutch people have been kind of cleaved apart or view themselves as separate, and that's been for hundreds of years. In the case of the different Manding varieties, people might actually feel quite similar, and even in the video, as we saw, they use the term Jula to refer to all those varieties. We had the one guy that says Jula Khan is spoken in Burkina, Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, but then he also goes all the way over and says it's also spoken in Guinea, it's also spoken in Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Senegal, the Gambia. So clearly for him, all of those varieties, Bambara, Jula, Mandinka, and Mandinka, are all Jula Khan. So he does see them as closely related. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. I didn't know Malinke and Mandinka were different. Yeah, I'm really happy to help. I hope that starts to point out things, even if it was a kind of quick overview, but hopefully you got something out of that.